Why do we tip? Is it kindness, duty, or just avoiding that awkward moment when the bill comes and the screen flashes options? Tipping feels normal now, expected even, but it wasn't always this way. Think about that tip jar. Sometimes it's got googly eyes, sometimes it just sits there, silently asking. We toss in $1 for coffee, a few bucks for a meal, and rarely question it. But tipping has a tangled past. One that's not as noble as we might think. It's rooted in old class systems, economic shifts, and a lot of, wait, that's how it started? Moments. So let's dig in. How did tipping become such a loaded, stressful part of daily life in America? Before we get into the legal twists and psychological turns, let's set the scene. Tipping happens everywhere, but in America, it's practically a national pastime, like baseball, or arguing about pineapple on pizza. But how did a casual gesture inflate into a complex, high-pressure ritual? The journey is wild and it's still evolving. Maybe it's time we ask, is this system really working, or are we just playing along because it's what everyone expects? Let's find out. Grab your mental tip jar, we're diving in. Let's rewind to 17th century England. Big wigs, fancy manners, and veils. The original tips. Tipping was a show-off move for the wealthy, not for everyday folks. Americans traveling to Europe brought the custom home thinking it was sophisticated. But many Americans hated it, calling it undemocratic, even forming anti-tipping societies. Still, tipping stuck around, morphing from a rich person's bonus to an everyday expectation. Enter the 20th century and the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938. It introduced minimum wage, but with a catch, the tip credit. Employers could pay tipped workers less, expecting customers to make up the difference. Suddenly, tips weren't extra, they were essential to workers' paychecks. The burden shifted from employer to customer. And today, the federal tipped minimum wage is still just $2.13 an hour. It hasn't changed since 1991. So, that tip you leave isn't just a thank you, it's often a lifeline. Tipping's history is less about generosity, more about loopholes and shifting responsibility. The system we have now, it's built on old habits and outdated laws. And it's left a lot of workers depending on your generosity to make ends meet. That's the real story behind the tip jar. Let's keep going. Why do we keep tipping even for just okay service? Social pressure is huge. Nobody wants to be the cheap one. There's an unwritten rule, they serve, you tip. It's a social contract. But guilt plays a big part too. We know many workers rely on tips to survive. Enter technology, those payment tablets with preset tip options. Suddenly you're prompted to tip for everything. Ice cream, bottled water, you name it. The default is rarely no tip. It's a digital nudge or maybe a shove. It's easier to tap 20% than risk looking stingy, especially with the server watching. Technology has made tipping more frequent and often higher. Is it about convenience, or are we being played by clever design? The line between generosity and obligation is blurrier than ever. Tipping now feels less like a choice, more like a requirement. And as the screens keep spinning, the pressure only grows. Are we rewarding service, or just avoiding awkwardness? The answer isn't simple, but it's worth thinking about. Let's look beyond America. In Japan, tipping is often rude, good service is just part of the job. In France, service compris means it's included. No math, no pressure. Australia, high minimum wages, tipping is rare and never expected. So, are we the odd ones out? Here, tipping started as a rich person's flex. Now it's a make or break part of many workers' income. Laws like the $2.13 tip minimum wage keep the system stuck in the past. As payment screens ask for more often we have to ask, is this system fair? Are we rewarding great service or just subsidizing low wages? Maybe it's time to rethink how we value service and ensure everyone earns a real living wage before tips even come into play. Next time you see that tip jar or spinning tablet, remember, it's more than a gesture. It's a question about what kind of system we want. Food for thought as you pay your next bill. Thanks for listening. And don't forget to tip if you want to.